What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to my new podcast, The Hunter's Cafe. I'm here with Fighting Cowboy, and today we're going to be discussing a topic. I was trying to keep mum's the word on it because this is one I've been preparing for a while. We're going to be talking about accessibility in Souls and Souls-like games. Now, I have Fighting Cowboy on for a very specific reason because he actually works in accessibility, correct me if I'm wrong, with veterans, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he works in accessibility with veterans, and that's a job that he does besides what he does with content creation. Now, thank you so much for having me on. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too because so many people commented on our last podcast that we did, and they had no idea that you even had another job besides what you do with YouTube. So it was really interesting for people to find out that you do work in accessibility. Could you discuss a little bit, if you are able to, what you do in accessibility with veterans?
So, well, these days my job is more contract management. I'm not really in the field anymore, as they say, but with kind of where my focus used to be, we primarily focus on medical templates. So anytime a new medical template goes out, which is what your PCP, your primary care physician, or your provider uses to document the interaction with patients, and there's new templates that are created all the time, whether it's for medications or a template for a visit or whatever the case is. And a lot of times you have this disconnect between developers creating what they think is needed versus what's actually usable by the providers. So a development team makes up a template and they go, this says, XYZ. And then our group would go through the template and look over best practices, look over error prevention, readability, everything that's needed to make sure, hey, this actually isn't going to work. This is going to violate a bunch of different color blindness standards. People aren't going to be able to use it. Or, you're using a radio button system when this is a multi-check. So you're already conflicting with your base entry system. And that's a lot of what we do these days. But it's not limited to just templates. We did like My Healthy Vet, the main veteran-facing website. We did like a full redesign of that. We took it from looking like a 90s AOL website with just informational pollution all over it to a veteran logs in and it's like, here's your meds, here's your appointments, here's your health record, and here's a link to talk to your provider. And we just streamlined it because that's what the end user wanted. So typically a lot of this is user testing. We'll, do A/B testing. So for example, have a user go through the old website and then have them go through the new website, or do that with a template. And a lot of it is just doing that over and over again. And then that way you get, you get a point where you have statistics that are like, okay, well, looking at the difference previously, it took them on average 10 minutes to request a medication refill. And now they're able to do it in 3 minutes. We have a tangible improvement showing this is going to improve the user experience. And so that's I guess the gist of it. I know I'm kind of getting down into the weeds here with it, but it's a big emphasis on improving the user experience and figuring out what we can do to minimize any potential disconnect between the end user and the task.
Interesting. Okay. So it gets very down to the detail oriented stuff is what I'm gathering with a lot of it. When it comes to accessibility in gaming in particular, I know that's completely different from what you were working with in accessibility there, but it gives you an expertise. This is what you basically went to school for, from what you were saying last time,
Yeah.
So it's one of the things of where when people discuss this online and they do it in such a callous manner of where it's incredibly ableist, it gets incredibly insensitive. What is your perception on it whenever you see people discussing about accessibility online who have no idea what they're talking about?
So I think a big part of the argument stems from the accessibility and difficulty discussion. And there's at the end of the day, accessibility is just about making something more accessible to as many people as possible, which does mean you're removing factors of difficulty. Now, one hand of this, removing a factor of difficulty, would be like an actual difficulty mode, which is something that, of course, is non-existent in Soulslikes. In other cases, it's, look at the like the actual accessibility tab in something like say God of War. Sony does a pretty good job at their accessibility options, and you see a lot of stuff in those games where there's color blindness modes, there's enemy indicator modes, there's sound cues. Forza did an excellent job where they had enough audio cues where somebody that was completely visually impaired could play a racing game, which is mind-boggling even to me. The idea that like this person is legit just blind and they're able to play a game about driving a car purely through sound cues, like that's wild. But so I think a lot of the vitriol around the conversation, it boils down to the difficulty. Because when you look at like accessibility, you have a range. You have like your color blindness, you have your ease of access, you have subtitles, very simple stuff like that. And then you start getting into things that are more gameplay modifier, changing the parry timing, changing how much damage you take, changing how much damage enemies deal. Those could also be considered a portion of accessibility. And then it ultimately, I think, just boils down to, with Soulslikes in particular, you have people that are, of course, not happy at the idea of something that modifies how hard a Soulslike is. And then so that's where a lot of the, I guess, the anger, you could say, involving the difficulty conversation comes from.
Right. And it also, I do want to make a point to just clarify that there, for people who are watching, there is a difference between accessibility and ease of playability from what you were saying before. Because when people look at Souls games, they think these games by nature are difficult, so they have to stay that way. They can't change in their nature or else will change the vision of what the game is. But there are a lot of different things, which we're going to get into, that I feel like could help the accessibility of the game without changing the difficulty of what a Souls or Souls-like stands for. In your opinion, in your view, what do you think are things that, especially I think now that, I know that you say it's a myth, haha, that Elden Ring DLC is going to be coming out, but when it does come out eventually, if ever, what accessibility features do you think would be very important to have with that game?
I mean, it's hard to say with the Souls games in particular. FromSoft isn't exactly known for going after accessibility. Even on a broad spectrum, there were like, look at some of the, I don't even think there was button remapping in the first couple Souls games. So it's always been a case of where it's just not really been something they've pursued. And without adding like direct modifiers to the game, I just don't really see FromSoft pursuing it. As a baseline, I'd love to see some stuff from them, kind of how we discussed, like color blindness options, stuff that help people that typically couldn't even play a game like that. I guess probably the biggest thing I think people struggle with getting into Souls for the first time is just how punishing it could be. And Souls, but this is the thing that's so tricky about Souls, is I think a big part of Souls games in general is that punishing difficulty, is that lack of learning. And in a sense, Souls games are almost like the antithesis of accessibility. They're meant to be difficult, and as opposed to the idea of making the game more accessible to more people. The idea of Souls games is they're there to be as hard as possible to as many people as possible. They're not gonna teach you anything. You're not gonna get, the closest thing you get to a tutorial is a message on the ground that says R1 attacks.
Yeah, or just jump here.
Yeah. Sekiro, we finally got like a target dummy we could hit, but they are games that are designed for you to get lost in, to get punished, and to have you essentially learn lessons through death over and over. They want you to die over and over in the game, and so that's what makes the accessibility discussions surrounding Souls difficult. I think a good way to think of it is like if we look at God of War, or it's a better one. So I guess Spider-Man's a good example. Spider-Man had a variable parry timing where you could tweak how tight the parry is. Do you want when I was playing it, I was like, well, the parry feels a little bit too tight here, but enemies aren't hitting high enough. So I went into the difficulty and I made it so like, all right, my damage is okay. Enemies hit a little, or enemies are going to hit harder, but the parry, I'm going to make that a little bit looser. And I kind of found like the sweet spot for what I was enjoying. I had the parry timing felt right. If I messed up, enemies were still hitting and chunking. So it created this good sweet spot where the combat was like risky but enjoyable for me. And that's one of the like at the end of the day, whether you want to call it difficulty or accessibility in that case, it's still directly changing the modifiers of the game to create an experience that's more tailored to the player. FromSoft just doesn't do that, and I think that's part of it. I will say it's just, I don't know, it's kind of weird because a lot of people are very, don't do this in Souls. You have to beat it because I beat it, and it's a very weird mentality. It's kind of the same like, I paid off my student loans, so no one else should have their student loans forgiven. It's like the same mindset to me, which I mean that's part of like why I do the walkthroughs and stuff. Is that's I know people are going to struggle. Let me try and make this so more people can get into it. But I mean, there's obviously a bunch of things that could be done to go back to the original question. You could variable parry timings, decrease how much damage is incoming, decrease how much damage the player takes. All of those things would be forms of accessibility. Whether or not people, let's be honest, people would probably outrage if they saw something like that in a mainline FromSoft game. They would, because they wouldn't consider it Souls anymore. And to be honest, it is weird because I think part of what makes the Souls experience what it is because of that difficulty. Because you look at these settings, we have them in tons of games. We have them in Ghost of Tsushima. We have them in God of War. We have them in Spider-Man a lot. And I keep bringing up Sony games, but I feel like the Sony is kind of at the front of the pack when it comes to implementing these features in their games. And those are all good games, but they don't have that cultural, I don't know if cultural is the right term, but they don't have this almost community like reach that Souls games have. And I think part of that is there was a quote somewhere that Miyazaki did. I'm just going to paraphrase it off the top of my head, but the basic idea was like the reason they didn't do anything like that with Souls games is they wanted everyone to have the same experience no matter what. Whether you're an experienced player or a new player, everyone is going to go through the same struggle and experience the same thing in those games. And so it's like you're all overcoming this challenge in different ways, but you're all going to have the same baseline challenge. And I think part of that is what makes Souls games what they are. I think a common talking point when this argument comes up is like, I generally these days I find more and more games I tend to play kind of bouncing between hard and normal. I feel a lot of games tend to get health inflatey on hard, which just is like, this isn't fun, me having to dodge for an extra 5 minutes to kill this boss. Let's just knock this down. But hang on a second, I just lost morning. I just had like a complete brain zap.
Oh no, your brain hit the button.
Yeah, my brain hit the button. Oh no, where'd it go? Where'd the thought just like fluttered away from me?
Just Let's see. Like the smelter demon, it's just floating away.
Yeah, right.
I just want to, by the way, apologize. I'm getting over a cold, so if anybody in the comments is just like, why is she sniffling so much? I'm getting over a cold. Sorry. It's
that season. I've somehow I've been good. I had Christmas, I got bombed. We had our newborn somehow, she had like a adenovirus, and then that like weakened her immune system. So she caught like COVID, and she had like pink eye. And I guess adenovirus can cause like pink eye and strep throat. So like I got pink eye, the mother-in-law got pink eye, the father-in-law got pink eye, my wife and son somehow dodged it. But then on top of the pink eye, I developed like mega strep. Like I was like 103 plus fever. I was like, cold chills, take a shower, like sweating through my sheets. for like almost a week. I went through 2 different courses of antibiotics to kill it. I was like looking up, I was like, remove tonsils now as adult. Like it was
Oh
miserable.
no.
But since then I've been good. So we're a month and a half through like cold season and I've been dodging it. So I'm like, all right, maybe that was my one for the winter.
It's annoying because it's just like you get it when you least expect it or need it to happen, and it's like I did not plan to get sick at all this time.
Yeah, I forget what it was. There was a game. What was it? There was a game that came out and it was a bigger release. I remember it was like right when I was getting over a cold. So I was like, what's happening, guys? Welcome back. I don't usually sound like this, but the game's here. We got to get started. But anyway, so I think I'm getting the. God, it's still just like fluttering away. What was it? So let's recap. We were talking difficulty.
I have to use my inhaler actually really quickly. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No, it's just like, wait a second. What happened to the thought? It's getting old.
It is. I'm gonna be 30. I don't feel 37, but I'm gonna be 37 this year.
You're gonna be 37. I'm 31.
I'm an old man these days. At least I feel like it.
Oh my gosh, it's so weird because it's just like we're seeing kids now. It's just like have you seen like kids come out of high school and it's like with their big backpacks and they look so tiny.
Yeah, and all the kids are just like hi, and I'm like, you are small. Like, hello.
Oh my god, no, it's so strange to see because you see like them carrying like all of these books and it's just like, oh, I remember when I was that. Oh,
it has all of your books installed on it. And this way kids aren't getting like lower back problems carrying around a 45-pound backpack. But I did the thought came back. I found it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, so a common thing we see in the online sphere is the point that's made is, oh well, if you like playing the game on hard and someone else plays the game on easy, that doesn't take away from your experience at all. And it's true. 2 people can play the game and enjoy it in different ways. That's absolutely true. And at the same time, I think this is where kind of Miyazaki's design philosophy conflicts with that. Is like, yes, they can, but he has set an experience and a threshold that he wants people to overcome. And so, if you get through Millennia, for example, let's just say Millennia, because she's the hard boss in Elden Ring. Everyone struggles against Millennia. You're spending hours. You finally beat it. You feel incredibly accomplished. At the same time, though, if there are difficulty options, even if you don't necessarily need them, that temptation is there. How many times are you going to go against Millennia before you're like, all right, fuck this cheating boss. We're damage low, boss dodge speed low. Like that temptation is always there. And I think that's what Miyazaki wants to avoid. I think one thing that could potentially be done is the style of once you set your difficulty, you can't change it. So you have a like more friendly mode for people that just want to experience the story and go through it. And then you have like a normal mode, which is what he intended. We have seen varying levels of difficulty in some games like that. I think on the other side of things, I think a talking point some people have is like, oh, well, if you're struggling, just level up, which like is a fun point for people to talk. Like, we'll just level up, get stronger. But like, it's not really that simple. Like if we're talking somebody is struggling to the point where they're just getting their ass beat over and over again, telling them to go farm up 60 levels in vigor isn't really that. Like it's the equivalent of like, oh, you're poor, just go make money. Like, well, yeah, I'm gonna get a job and I'm gonna make the money, but like, thank you for that completely non-fucking helpful remark. So it's a very, I don't know. The whole topic is like a minefield because you have, I feel like both sides. I get where both sides are coming from. You have the accessibility focused people that are like, let more people experience this game. It's not going to affect you. Just fuck off, get over it. And then you have the Souls purists that are like, we should all have the same experience. And this guy's beating the game with his fucking feet. Stop making excuses.
I've seen arguments like that.
Yeah, and
it's very strange to me too because the mentality, like you said, like I get both sides, I really do, but it comes to a point of where it, even though gaming is supposed to be for everyone, there gets to be points of where, like you said, there are purists who are just like, let people just have their unique experience with it. And I fully believe, like with my whole heart and soul, that if you are able-bodied and you are completely able to, I know that you can beat a Souls game. I know that you can beat Sekiro.
Is your camera, does it auto track you?
Yes, it does. Because like once I put
so it's like, yeah, but like your hands were up, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Camera just panned on its own. She got a production crew in the back there. Like,
I literally just put my hand up sometimes, and it gets annoying because it'll just
start shifting around. Honestly, I think the one way to, I think the easiest solution, if we were to ever see FromSoft do it, is for them to just have, start, and it's like what do you want? Do you want standard or do you want story difficulty? And they just have a story difficulty where you can change everything, but it disables achievements, and that way the people that want to experience the game get to experience it and play through it and do it however they want, and the people that are purists still have their little, well, look, I got my trophy, I'm the best. Like, I think that would probably be the closest compromise, because the people that want to experience are getting to experience, and the people that want to have this, I overcame this challenge, I did it, they still have their digital badge of honor saying, look, he did it, congrats, you did the thing.
It's such a pissing contest at the end of the day, because when I look at it, it's like, even when I went in and I went into the what was it, the Bloodborne DLC, and people were saying, oh yeah, you know what, just beware of Orphan of Cause, that's one of the bosses that I don't think you'll be able to get. And at that point, you're just like, it becomes like a really like a weird thing that you kind of have to prove yourself with. You don't have to. It's not necessary by any means. But as soon as I got that achievement, I was just like, that was it? That was difficult, but also that was it. That's what people were complaining about.
I don't even personally, I don't think Orphan's that bad. Orphan, the thing that makes Orphan so hard to people is all of Bloodborne teaches you, like, like if you're getting hit, your natural reaction is to get away, to dodge backwards. And Orphan is just the forward. Yeah, you dodge forward. That's literally all it is. Once you understand, like, oh, I dodge into your attacks instead. He's like, ah, and he way overswings, and you're just sitting behind him, and you're like, I'm gonna heal. If this was Monster Hunter, I'd have time to sharpen my weapon right now. I'm gonna go ahead and drink a little demon drug. But if you're dodging backwards, he slaps the shit out of you over and over again. Now the real hard boss is fucking Lawrence. Lawrence just that route sucks, because Lawrence, you're doing fine, and then all of a sudden crazy lava arms hit you, and like, dude, that is one of the few Soulsborne fights where I will completely change my armor. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna drink a fire resist potion. I'm gonna put on the fire hunter's gear. I might even slap on a fire rune, like, because you're doing fine, and then you get hit by lava spew, and your health is just like, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yep. I haven't even beat Lawrence yet. I went in, I tried it. My second try, I got him down to his last phase. I was like, he cut himself in half, and he has lava all over the floor.
He just crawls around all over it.
My entire army of just like this one guy. He's a heavy hitter in the Souls DLC. Oh god, I'm forgetting his name right now. But he's a tank. Honestly, like the NPC, yes. Yeah, the NPC that just comes in with you, he's a tank, he's great, but even he just gets demolished. And I find it so interesting because a lot of these bosses, I know we're getting on a tangent right now, are so strange in the way that once you get it and you have that clicking moment, it's there, and it just becomes incredibly easy. Like Lady Maria, like the best way to beat her is by parrying her. And a lot of people just don't know how to parry.
You can just like hyper aggro her. And she has a super low stun thresholds. On the last playthrough I did of Bloodborne, I just kept hitting her, and like she didn't get to, like, she eventually recovered to do her like this is my special showy move, and then when it was done, I just went back and just kept stun locking her again. And I'm like, you don't get to fight.
Yeah, it's just like you just use the Beast Claw, and you can just get her down, and it's fine.
That's what it was. It was a Beast Claw playthrough, so the whole time I'm just like,
really?
Just smacking her over and over again.
It's just so fun because it's like, see, this is the thing that like a lot of people don't get to the point to, because they either get too aggravated, or they're just like, I don't want to play this game because it looks too difficult. The amount of times I've had to tell my friends that, listen, I I know that you don't want to play this game, but at least try it to see what your thoughts are on it. And a lot of people are just like, well, it doesn't have an easy mode. And I was like, well, that shouldn't be a barrier to at least getting into trying something new. Like we were talking before, I get the accessibility from that point, and I get the ease of playability from the other point. But experimenting with something new, what do you think should be like? Do you think someone should just like not try the game because it's too difficult, or do you think everyone should at least try a Souls game for the first time?
I mean, I think everyone should try a game, of course, but kind of back to the Miyazaki quote. I think this is part of it, because if let's say we went into, let's just pretend for a second that all the Souls games had difficulty. The conversation we just had about, like, oh well, with Millennia you can get hyper aggro, and with Paz you want to dodge into his attacks versus backing away. Those conversations probably wouldn't even exist. I mean, there might be little micro parts there, like, beating Millennia hard mode, what do you recommend? But like, a lot of it just wouldn't happen, because the experience now differs across the whole playfield. And I think that's, at the end of the day, I do think that is part of the FromSoft DNA, is they want everyone to have that same experience. And that's why, despite the protests, I don't think we'll ever really see accessibility in the sense of gameplay modifiers from FromSoft. Though I do think they need to have at least baseline accessibility, like color blindness settings. Let me change my fucking keybinds. Let me increase the size of text on the screen. Like, I'm a millennial. I like big subtitles. I like subtitles.
Honestly,
I want subtitles on everything. I'm watching a show, subtitles are going on, because whoever's mixing the fucking audio on this show doesn't know what they're doing, and people are trying to talk and there's explosions, and I need subtitles.
it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because it's the exact thing that I mentioned in a discussion I was having on one of my videos, of where there is a section of where it's right in the beginning of the game for the first boss for Margot, and you go in and you see like the text and everything, and it's gold on top of what is already a gold background. It's just like, for my eyes, it's like I can't differentiate a lot of the background. Like, you can still see it, but there's no like background shading in order to differentiate a lot of it. So I feel like that at least would be cool to see from software implement something small like that. Whenever it comes down to the point of older Souls games, do you think that older Souls games, if they were ever given the chance to, should have accessibility features? Not newer ones, because we have Demon Souls remake, and that in and of itself is an easier time playing around that world, and by far it's just easier accessibility wise for people who are getting into Souls games. But like Dark Souls 1, pre-Scholar of the Sin,
So you mean
type
like
stuff.
if they were to remake it?
Yeah, if they
Or
were to remake like Scholar of the Sin or Dark Souls remastered.
I mean, at a baseline, like I said, I'd like just simple accessibility options, the stuff to tweak stuff. I think if we're going to approach difficulty from the accessibility standpoint, I think the only way to not cause riots would be, the just make it difficulty mode and take trophies away from it. Because the Souls fans, the outcry from Souls purists if they added difficulty into Souls games would be palpable. You would
It would
be
be
able
so
to
funny.
you'd be able to wake up and smell the rage in the air from how many people are upset about it. And frankly, I just don't want to listen to the bitching. So I think the easiest solution would be, sure, add difficulty mode and just turn off the trophies so the purists can have their thing that makes them happy, and their little, their digital I did it badge.
Well, that's what they did with Uncharted. In some of those games, if you went in and you played basically on story mode, you didn't get the achievements, but you got to play how you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good approach, because then you're essentially keeping both games happy. You have the achievement that's attached to the challenge still, which those people, a lot of people will go for that. which is ironic because I don't really care about trophies at all. I just, it's kind of hard to make a walkthrough and not cover the content of trophies. I feel like it's kind of part of the process, but I think that's probably one of the best ways to approach it, because then, even if the conversation shifts of like, oh well, you're still going to have people. I mean, even now, even with the way Elden Ring is, you still have the people. Oh, you fought Millennia with Ashes. Yeah, well, you didn't really fight Millennia. Like, oh, bro, unless you're fighting Millennia blindfolded with one hand tied behind your back, are you really fighting Millennia? Like, at the end of the day, the community gets pretty pretentious about stuff.
Yeah, pretty gatekeepy.
Yeah, and it's not everywhere. I do think it's the loudest minority. You have the people that want to keep things the way it is, and those are going to be the loudest, and the ones that are chronically online yelling about how, well, if you didn't do it like this, you didn't really do it. I think the vast majority of people don't really give a shit. I just want to play the game and have fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it would necessarily be bad to have accessibility in Souls games. I do think there would be just a bunch of people crying about it.
Yeah. And, it kind of brings me to my next question of when we see Soulslikes, which are inspirations of, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, the typical Souls games, when we see games that are coming out like Lies of P or Lords of the Fallen, which in turn have very big, I wouldn't call it buffering to make like the difficulty lessen, but they hide it behind really tanky weapons. And that's another thing that I wanted to kind of get your opinion on. It was where, like, do you think that the big, as you so eloquently put it in certain streams, unga bungas, do you think that, yeah, do you think that certain builds do create that easy mode, like people are suggesting, like a strength build or a magic build?
Certain builds are always going to be easier at certain things than others. At the same time, I think in Souls games in general, there are ways to ramp up almost any build to the point where you can. I mean, there's one-shot videos of people that 35% health, red tier stone ring. They'll use like a damage self buff, and then they'll parry Pontiff, and they'll one-shot him. They'll parry him and then do a one-hit kill with a strength weapon. Everyone likes to go to Magic's the easy mode in Souls, but like there are fights that are hyper aggressive where you just don't really have the time to get off your casts, where whereas if I'm strength, I'm just going to smash you and stagger you over and over again. Or by the same logic, there's builds where the dex being faster or having bleed added in, you're going to be able to just get a couple hits in, and that the bleed procs are going to kill something before you really need to engage with the mechanics. So I think it's variable. I think certain builds are easier at certain times. I think that mostly comes down to bosses. I think from a progression standpoint, I think Magic definitely has an advantage, just because Souls games in general are about exploring and the traps and the stuff that's trying to ambush you. And when you're able to tackle all of that from range, you're certainly safer. Whereas the room that you walk in to fight one dude and then two jump down from the rafters, as a strength build, if you don't have a throwing knife or anything, you're getting in there and it's going to be a 1v3. If you're a Magic build, you're looking up, you're sniping the one dude out of the rafter, you're sniping the other dude, and then you're going to get three soul I don't even remember what's the base spell. Is it spirit? No, soul. I'm thinking soul shards in my head, but that's not right. It's been so long since. Yeah, soul arrow. But you're just going to be, you're going to throw out a couple soul arrows. Which at the same time, I mean, when I play, like when I'm doing a walkthrough and I'm going through, I'm looking for the easiest route possible, and I'm usually not using magic just because I want to use something that's going to be applicable to everyone. And a big thing would be, all right, swap to your bow, shoot this one guy, and you charge up a heavy attack, and right as he gets into range, you're unleashing a full heavy attack and one-shotting him. So even strength builds and dex builds, as long as you're utilizing other tools that are available, you can still set yourself up to kind of cruise through levels as a magic build would. It just usually requires a little bit more work. So at the end of the day, I think multiple builds can have an easy time. I think it really just depends how the player is using that build and how they're prepped. Because to a brand new player, the idea of I'm going to sit back and do magic and I'm going to be safe, that obviously sounds much simpler compared to, I need to get into the fray and dodge everything perfectly and get all my hits in. But to someone that knows what they're doing, like, my perception isn't I'm going to get into the fray and dodge everything. It's, I'm going to get in, get one parry, I'm going to chunk it for a quarter of its health, and then do a fully charged heavy attack for another fifth of its health, and then that's going to stagger it, and I'm getting another follow-up, and now the boss is dead.
Yeah, there's a logistical way to go about it, and this actually isn't so much an accessibility question. What I'm about to ask next, it was just an interesting topic that I thought would be cool to ask you about, because it was a discussion that I had brought up before with my community of the usage of clothing in Souls games, right? And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's like the guy, let me solo her," it's actually a really interesting concept of where. Do you actually need, and this sounds so strange when I'm speaking it, but do you actually need to wear clothing in Souls games in order to be proficient? Because you have different items that kind of buffer the enemy's things a little bit, like fire or poison or lightning or whatever it may be.
I think, I think this does largely depend on the game. I think and you can, because obviously if your character's basically naked, you have more iframes, so you're rolling faster, which does have a higher skill ceiling with it because you're counting on your ability to dodge versus the armor's ability to soak. I think the farther you get in the games, the less potent that defense is. Like once you're on like New Game 7, it doesn't matter. You're dodging. Your armor isn't going to really do much mitigation. But I mean, mitigation can be important in Souls games. I think it just depends on the build. If you're doing a strength build, for example, having that fast dodge is great and all, but you're relying on the ability to tank a hit and get a trade-off, assuming you're playing one of the games where you have hyper armor and poise. So it's not going to work if you're just dodge everything. Like, oh no, you need to have the armor to make that trade to begin with. So I think armor can be important. I think we're also seeing there's a couple obviously specific use cases, like the fight where I was talking about stacking fire defense to fight Lawrence so that you're not getting one shot by his lava. You're going to have a couple key solutions like that. But I think armor, for the most part, like I generally just play for fashion. There's a couple of pieces in particular where it's like, oh, this piece adds a boost to incantations or a boost to your FP. Like the helms in Elden Ring, a lot of helms have unique effects. And so that's obviously a special use case because you're getting a tangible, although minor, stat improvement from wearing this item. But from the perspective of like, do you need to, I think a trap a lot of people fall into in Souls games is like min-maxing. Like my neighbor was playing through Elden Ring and went over to his house and was like, all right, let me look at your build. And, he fell into there's another thing that's not really ever fucking explained in Souls until you look at a walkthrough video, but the 69.9% weight break threshold. If you don't know about weight thresholds, which he didn't, he's sitting there with like a sword on and a katana on and super heavy armor, and his weight's at like 87.9, and I'm just like, ooh, fuck, man. I'm like, so let me see you play for a bit. And he's like, fat rolling around, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna change some things up for you and tell me how this feels. And he's like, whoa, I dodge so much faster now. And I'm like, yeah, it's a big difference, right? And he's like, oh man, this is they hit a little bit harder, but I can actually kind of move now. And I'm like, oh, there you go. That's the trade-off. So at the end of the day, I think dodging is certainly more important than armor. Like at least at a bare minimum, having a medium roll in Souls, like for me at least, that's the priority. Is your armor is cool and all, but like if you're fighting over that 70% threshold, it's gonna hurt. You're going to try and dodge, and it's like your character stumbling to get up and getting hit by follow-up attacks. That's no fun.
It's interesting to see because like when I see different Souls titles and I see like how they're constructed, even Lords of the Fallen, which is a Souls, like I see how fast the rolls are and how fast the healing is now. And going through Dark Souls 2, it's fascinating because the ratio at which it takes
slow
to heal.
That's so everything, and that's honestly why I can't go back to Dark Souls 2. Is it feels even slower than Dark Souls 1. I love Dark Souls 2. It's the Souls game that got me into Souls games. But until your adaptability is like 30 in that game, your character is like,
Yeah,
and you're like,
it's so bad.
fucking heal.
And the time it takes for the character to heal in proximity to when the enemy is attacking you, it is bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Which the problem is, you can offset it with adaptability, but especially early on in those games, you're like, well, I want to hit baseline weapon requirements. I need to have enough endurance for my armor, and I need to have enough health to survive. And then, hey, here's this extra stat. Don't forget about me. You need me just to function like you did in every other game. So it's a rough experience for sure, especially at the start in that game.
It's strange too, because it's like every time I go into that game, and I was actually thinking about this podcast while I was streaming last night for to just see like, okay, what sort of things can I do here, and how is like the not the accessibility almost, but the kind of the way the playability is structured. And it's so odd because I feel like they combine the playability of Dark Souls 1 and what Bloodborne would become into that game.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating to me because you have the inspiration. You see kind of like the seeds growing for what future Souls and Soulslikes would be from software. But it's so strange to me how you can not walk, but like run faster up a ladder than you can walk in that game.
Yeah, there was a lot of very, I mean, I saw guy that does the Dust games. Forgetting his name at the moment, but he said he called it the New Vegas of Souls games, and I thought it was a very apt comparison because when I think of New Vegas, I think it's either you love New Vegas or you hated New Vegas, and that's Dark Souls 2 in a nutshell. People either they're on board with it and they love it and they like what it does, or they remember the jank that came along with that game and they are just not a fan of it as much.
And I just like him because, the Ornstein is in that game. My boy Ornstein finally made a guest appearance again.
Yeah.
So, to close off some of the topics for accessibility, when we look at the overall discussion and we look at accessibility as a whole, what are topics that, let me rephrase that actually, what are ways in which you want the conversation hopefully to be approached when it comes to accessibility online? Because there's a lot of callousness, unfortunately, and there's a lot of, like I said, oh gosh, now my brain is blanking on the word.
Ritual?
No, it's
saltiness, stubbornness.
No, shit, what was the word? It's basically when someone is like, I'm trying to think of the fucking word right now. Shit. When it comes specifically to someone in accessibility.
Usability? Approachability?
No, it's like people are ableist. That's the fucking word I was looking for. My God. Now, I see a lot of people who are ableist, and I see people who don't go into the conversation with kindness. What would you like to see as a hopeful person who is in the industry? I say hopeful.
At the end of the day, I think I've kind of given up hope in that regard. People that are chronically online are just assholes for the most part. And I know this is almost like a non-answer, but honestly, I think the best way is to just not have the conversations with those people. I feel like if people are going to join a conversation and they're not going to join it in good faith, if they immediately just hop on some bullshit and they're resorting to insults or just shitting on a specific demographic, fuck them. I don't think their opinion's worth being listened to or part of the conversation at that point. I would, I'm very liberal with the amount of blocks I hand out on Twitter. Like, I see people doing dumb shit. I mean, even console wars. I see people calling each other Xbots and ponies. I just block them both. I'm like, nope. Like, your opinion is no longer necessary in this conversation. I think it's the same thing in this context. Is people want to, if they don't want to engage in the conversation in good faith, then why bother listening to them?
It's true. Yeah. And so for anybody who's going to start some bullshit in my comment section, just like every other time that you guys do, I will be liberal with my block button. You guys commenting on clothing. This is a podcast for
Wait, what?
crying out loud.
With a
Someone
t-shirt?
was commenting on the fact that you were wearing in like fighting cowboy style a tank top. I was like, what does that have to do with the podcast?
Well, so all right. I'm typically like, so I'm in tank tops a lot, but generally it's because I'm going to the gym, or it's summer and it's warm. Right now, I mean, the reason, because it's going to come up, the reason I'm not in a tank top today is because it is currently 49 outside with a low of 27. And I have the gym tomorrow. So if I was going to the gym today, I would have the tank top on and then just throw on a hoodie if I got cold, because I'm dressing for what's coming up. But like today's whole plan is this podcast, watch the kids for a bit, record for a bit, and then do a stream. So this is like a lazy Friday. So and it's a chilly lazy Friday. So we need to have some sleeves. We gotta, cover up a little bit, keep the warmth. So they can't see down. If they could see down, they would notice that everything I'm in pajama pants regardless. So it doesn't.
See,
Whether it's
you're
tank top or
breaking the
t-shirt,
fourth wall right now.
I'm always in pajama pants almost. We have the stream pants. If it's really warm, I'll have shorts on. But a little bit cold, I'm like, no, can't stream with cold legs. Let's get the stream pants.
Breaking the fourth wall, fighting cowboy. How dare you? It's so fun because I saw those comments popping up so much. I was like,
You're like, where's the tank top?
Lore behind the tank top?
People just they like the tank top, I guess. It's the shoulders. So I've worked very hard on them, and
it's like the Unga Bunga shoulder.
Yeah, they want the Unga Bungas out.
Yeah. Okay. So now as a final question, this is more as me just being a smartass than anything. Is Armored Core Souls-like?
No, it's not. Miyazaki confirmed it. This conversation, that was such a glorious moment because there was so much just dumb bullshit flying around about how it was going to be a Souls-like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, no. People are like, well, so and so said. I'm like, no, no, it's not. No, it's not going to be one. It isn't one. It's if anything, Souls games are core likes because they've taken from the design philosophy. But that was such a just ridiculous. It was a very weird period where the Souls fandom was convinced of something that had no chance of fucking happening, but they swore it was going to be the new standard.
Well, like every other time on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because a lot of people are telling me that, Souls games derive from Neo. And I was like, wait, how? Because I've never played the Neo games before, so I have no idea. I
mean, well, Neo derived from Souls games. I wouldn't say the other way around because Neo came after. I really like Neo though. Neo 2 in particular is my favorite Souls-like. But they're very different because you do have some Souls aspects, but that mixes in a lot of like a Diablo-esque grind for loot. And the other thing, I think a big difference is Neo, unlike Souls games, Neo is set up for you to become grossly overpowered. And Souls is not. Like, you can get strong in Souls, but you never get strong enough to where you were setting up and one-shotting bosses as they spawn instantly. Like, yeah, there's specific setups in Souls where it's like, we do this, and then execute a parry and I can kill. Like, there's setups in Neo where it's like the boss spawns and you do an EI slash and just one-shot it for like 56,000 damage, and then switch up. And then the next thing spawns and you do another EI slash. Like Neo, that's I think one of the things I enjoy about Neo is I like chasing after, just how far can I push this? How strong can I make this? And Neo is a game that lets you, like, oh, you want to play on the hardest difficulty and one shot something? Well, with this build and with this amount of time invested, you can do that. Which is yeah. It's ironic because the start of the game you're getting absolutely bodied. Probably more so than Souls games because a lot of people going in don't understand key pulsing and the intricacies of that system, and it just adds another layer that it would be like the best way to describe it for someone that hasn't played Neo is it would be like every time you attacked, after you attack, there's like a small period where you need to wait, and then you need to tap a button to get your stamina back. So you're like stamina, it's like do, and then there's like a small recovery, and if you time it right, you get that stamina back. But if you don't, or you get hit, then your stamina comes back like half the speed it normally would, basically.
Oh wow.
And so
So in that way, it's kind of like Sekiro almost, if I want to compare correctly.
oh, I mean, Sekiro doesn't have stamina at all, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, it doesn't have stamina, but it's like it feels like there's a kind of like that recovery period too, as well, where you kind of feel like you're just like kind of waiting to do the next move to an extent. Maybe it's just because I haven't played Sekiro in a hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're like if your stagger bar gets broken, kind of, but I don't know. It's Neo is just its own beast. There's definitely lots of Souls influence in it, but it's just I find it funny because Souls people try to go to Neo, and if they don't understand the key system, it's definitely a harder experience. And then once you get to the end of it and you understand everything and how to put your builds together and you're doing set bonuses, you're infinitely stronger than you're ever going to be in a Souls game. Just how much
That's
damage you're pushing out.
It makes me excited to try it because I got the collection that has the first 2 games in it, so I'm really eager to try that out and see how it is. But before we leave off of today's podcast, it's on an accessibility note. I'm curious, what games are you into and what are you playing right now?
Right now I'm kind of just chilling. I just wrapped up Banishers Ghost of New Eden, so I'm just kind of waiting for Rebirth, and then after that it's Rise of Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2. So we're about to be really busy, but I'm in a nice lull before things get crazy.
So excited for Dragon's Dogma 2. I never played a Dragon's Dogma game before. I'm ready for that game.
It's gonna be quite beefy. I'm very much looking forward to it.
I can't wait. I saw the trailer instantly and I was like, I need all of that right now. Like, it looks beautiful.
There's also, I think that the pawn system in it is incredibly unique, because I think there's something about playing a game and having an NPC companion. You know, you have your companion in Skyrim, you have your summon dude in Elden Ring. There's something. It's like, you know, playing World of Warcraft as a hunter and you have your pet with you. There's something nice about having a little buddy along on the journey, and no game does that as good as Dragon's Dogma because of the pawn system. For those that haven't played it, including yourself, the way it works is you create your character, and then you create your buddy, and your buddy gets their own. You pick their class. They have different inclinations which dictate their behavior. So you could, like, if you were making a healer, you could create inclinations, and you could have it like, you know, Scather, Utilarian, and then Medicant, and that would mean that, hey, first it's gonna prioritize attacking largest targets, and maybe you give it 1 CC move, and then the rest of its stuff is healing and buffs. So with that setup, your little healer buddy would look at the boss, throw a debuff at the boss, and then it's going to prioritize buffing everyone else's weapons, and then it's going to focus on keeping everyone else alive. And so you're you know, they're running around same as you are fighting. But not only that, you hop into the Rift, which is like everyone uploading their buddies into the cloud, and then you go buddy shopping and you pick 2 more buddies from other players to bring along on your journey. And so you have this, you know, 4-person party that's kind of, you know, it is the Rift is really cool, because you go into the Rift and there's a little thing you pull up and you're like, oh, I want a warrior. And then, like, you're just chilling there and a bunch of warriors walk up and you're like talking to them and looking at their stats. You're like, you know, you go away. Oh, you're right, hired. You're perfect. So it's like you're essentially shopping for mercenaries that just come along on the adventure with you. There's no other game I've played like it. Like, to put it in a Souls context, it would be like, you know, you press a button and instead of a summon sign, it just is like, here's a list of players available. And you're like, I don't like your build. Oh, your build, that looks good. You can come along to the party. And then they just come along and they hang out with you, and then you keep them.
I think that is so cool because that is so unique. I saw that they were talking about the unique AI system that they had within that game, and it looks so interesting. Like, I mean, God, I can't imagine the algorithm, how complex it is, but the way that it's done, it looks so cool.
Yeah, there's nothing else like that, where you're just hire your little NPC party to come along from millions of choices, and, you know, Which is part of the downside of it because there's so many, and so you're like, all right, this one's garbage, this one's garbage. You know, it's like you're flipping. It's like Tinder for mercenaries. You're like, no, no, no. Oh, you got to heal. You're a maybe. No, no. Wrong buffs. No.
Swipe right on mercenary.
Yeah, You're trying to find the one that has exactly what you want to bring along.
Man, that's honest. Yeah, that's actually a pretty interesting time, and yeah, I can't wait to get into Dragon's Dogma 2. Let me know, by the way, down in the comments if you guys are excited for Dragon's Dogma or any of the upcoming games. Currently, I just finished Baldur's Gate 3. That was one hell of a ride, to be quite honest.
It's a long one.
Yeah, I finished it in just 99 hours. I put into that game.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I finished that game in 99 hours. It was an interesting journey. I was a high elf sorcerer, and that was a very unique time. I never liked turn-based games, and then Baldur's Gate 3 was like, oh, here, try this with this stuff. I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. I like turn-based now. What was it? I just finished up, or almost finished up, I should say, Dark Souls 2. That review is going to be coming out soon for you guys to possibly get mad about. We'll see what happens. But yeah, other than that, I'm currently playing Lords of the Fallen, and I'm going to be diving into Spider-Man 2 at some point. So we'll see how that works out. But you guys, that was the podcast with Fighting Cowboy on our discussion of accessibility. I can't wait to hear you guys' comments. Please be respectful down in the comments below. If not, I'll just, ban you anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it's really funny. Listen, you laugh, but you know it's true.
No, yeah, I just don't have patience for people that are dicks anymore. So
I don't, unless someone's gonna leave like a constructive comment that's helpful or kind. Like I'm not dealing with it right now, you know. But you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Fighting Cowboy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. It was a pleasure to have you as always.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Yeah, of course. And if you guys like our faces and what we do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every weekday here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, your hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa.